Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of August 12th through August 19th, where, yes, we have our Leo Solar Eclipse occurring on August 12th, plus more big Mercury in Leo energies unfolding into next week. We are officially entering into the eclipse portal, moving into new places of creation, power, light, and desire, as this is a new moon solar eclipse. So it's a powerful beginning point in your chart at 20 degrees of Leo. So the eclipse is exact on August 12th at 1:37 p.m. Eastern Time, when the sun will be blocked for 2 minutes and 18 seconds. And this, of course, signals important endings and sudden realizations that arrive during that span of time as our consciousness is being reset and we have new understandings in the Leo areas of our chart. Now, I just did a podcast for you on Monday discussing this even more, so I don't want to repeat myself here today. But of course, because the eclipse is happening on Wednesday, the day I'm recording this, it is important. Now, some other things to keep in mind with this strong Leo eclipse is that it's going to permanently be changing not only Leo areas of your chart, but also Leo energies in the world. So if we are looking at this through a global perspective, through mundane astrology, then we would also be looking at how there will be significant changes in leaders, presidents, fathers, executives, kings, or any supreme authority figures. This energy is also directly working with those we admire and look up to, those who are in entertainment, a spotlight, or who have creative skills and abilities that we see and receive a lot of public acclaim. There will be shifts in vitality, individuality, creative will, power dynamics, the ego, self-expression, and what we define as successful in the world. A total solar eclipse shuts down what is no longer connected to the collective energy frequency, which no longer symbolizes or is needed for where the collective is going. And because it is a total solar eclipse, which, by the way, not every solar eclipse is total in how it blocks the light, but this is more dramatic, and it means you could have some startling understandings that steer you in a new direction. And maybe they don't arrive exactly on Wednesday, August 12th, but this is the energy that's continuing to play out through Leo season, but also into next year, into 2027. And that's because this 20-degree point in your chart is going to be further activated and triggered by both Mars in Leo 2 times, because we're going to have a Mars retrograde in Leo. Also, Jupiter will move across this 20-degree point in your chart 3 times after the eclipse is exact. Then, of course, we'll also have the South Node moving across this eclipse point. So this is a highly active area of your chart, and it lasts into June 2027. And so that is the span of time to assess these eclipse changes. And because they're occurring in Leo, the energy is fast moving, fiery, assertive, brave, and courageous, especially when you're working with those higher expressions of Leo. And so you might even surprise yourself around what you're ready to do and take on, where you want to make moves and get something going. And it comes together quite quickly and you have energy for it. Overall, this is going to bring about forward moving developments based on what you have been internally evolving, shifting, and working on. And so for many of you, you could see the fruits of your labor. You could finally see things really changing in your external world when you thought you were only experiencing it internally. Because the Leo energy is visible, there's going to be something that validates the changes and work you've been moving through. And by the way, there could also be a lot of fun here. There can be joy and happiness, excitement and positivity that arrives. This eclipse reveals to us maybe where we've been too serious or working too hard, and it shows you what's been lacking or missing and to declare what you want in your life next. So there is a lot of self-empowerment here, as well as the reminder to let loose, have a good time, and find more joy to integrate and experience in your life. Now, on the same day as this eclipse, on August 12th, we also have Mars newly in Cancer, sextiling Chiron retrograde in Taurus at 0 degrees. This is a very nourishing, supportive energy where the sextile at 0 degrees could show you what is newly important to you that you need to take care of and nurture. This is TLC energy. And maybe perhaps there's even been the sense that there's been so much going on and that things are moving really quickly that you're recognizing where you need a slowdown, where you need a break. And in fact, your body needs it too. So Mars in Cancer, sextiling Chiron in Taurus, is that energy of listening to what your physical self needs, trusting the slowdown, allowing yourself to take a break and have the afternoon off, or to not fill up the calendar, if possible, for a few days, so that you can tend to what you're feeling in your body. Now, Mars is just in Cancer and will stay in Cancer until September 28th, is to drop down into the body. And so this is a grounding influence here where you allow that Mars in Cancer to move down into your energy field so that you can hear what your body needs and where your energy needs support. And this could bring about some intuitive realizations of what your body has been communicating to you that you haven't heard amongst all the noise, chatter, and movement that's going on. So the more that you can honor that pause and give yourself a moment to check in on what's occurring internally, then this Mars is going to have a deeper understanding of what's needed. And Mars in Cancer, in its higher expression, operates off of emotional intelligence, understanding that how you feel in your emotional world is an essential part of your physical experiences and how your energy runs. And so there may be some new realizations here of where you're depleted or tired, of what energy is lacking, and that Mars in Cancer is going to tune in to what you need in order to care for yourself and take care of your needs. And so this is more of a softer, receptive influence happening in the background because we have a lot going on in the Leo energies that are quite big and dominant, but this is what's occurring in the background. And you might find that taking that intentional pause gives you some really supportive insights and understandings. During this eclipse, we have Mercury now in Leo as of Sunday, August 9th, and Mercury is moving fast, which is always the case after he completes his retrograde. So if you have felt even a shift in your mind, thinking, speech, or mental habits recently, perhaps it's because Mercury is finally out of Cancer, where it was since the beginning of June. Now Mercury is in Leo, moving quickly, and makes a beneficial sextile to Venus in Libra over the course of a few days. They have an exact sextile on August 12th, August 13th, and then Mercury moves on and makes a conjunction to Jupiter at 10 degrees of Leo on August 15th. So Mercury in Leo has a lot to do, has a lot he wants to express and say. There could be the need to get something off your chest or write or express anything that's been on your mind. With Mercury in Leo, it's easier to figure out what you need to say and to feel confident in doing so. And it could have felt that the past few months, things have been very inconsistent and fluid. It might have been difficult to even know what to say, what to write, what to plan. But now Mercury is strengthened in Leo, and there's greater mental determination. And so this is a week where whatever goals are coming to mind, whatever new endeavors are presenting themselves, and of course, anything that's transpiring for you during this solar eclipse portal, you might find something locks in for you. And you realize, I have to do it. I want it. It matters to me. I'm going to go for it. And so there's easier forward motion here, and the mind is in alignment with what that is. And not only is Mercury supported by a sextile from Venus in Libra, but Mercury has also been receiving support from Neptune retrograde in Aries and Uranus in Gemini. So this brings in more activity, more communications, more plans, more things that might finally start to come together and actually happen. This could be the week that you have a flood of things arriving in your inbox, a lot of communications and plans going on, and many more developments now in the works. Mercury is now strengthened after having an initial square from Chiron in Taurus and an opposition from Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Maybe some deep fears were coming up right before this eclipse. Maybe some old fears, some intense extreme potentials were grabbing you, and you were like wrestling with what to choose, what to do, what to think. But the energy starts to alleviate and loosen up after the eclipse. And again, then there is this ongoing support from Venus in Libra, which could be a feminine energy who is assisting, who is helping you talk something through. She's listening or sharing her thoughts. Venus in Libra is often a great ally, an objective observer, and just someone who's around to bounce ideas off of and figure something out with. And so you could have support right now for whatever it is you are figuring out and wanting to put together. Venus is strong in Libra, one of her ruling signs, and she's also been strengthened by a recent air grand trine with both Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. So this means important new people are arriving in this cycle. There is the energy here for co-creation, collaboration, supportive partnerships, and figuring something out in a brand new way. This is very big transformative energy where you may be presented with something you've never done before, and yet it's coming together and it works. Maybe you're meeting new kinds of people that you wouldn't normally cross paths with, or sharing new conversation topics and feel yourself drawn into new genres or subject matters. Whatever the case may be, this is an air grand trine that's been occurring in the air signs, which gets things moving, especially in our ideas, plans, and communications, and it brings in even more for us to discuss. So this can support with socializing, plans with friends, hanging out. Maybe some big ideas are coming to fruition. This is also long-term planning. So if you're looking into the holiday season or next year, maybe there's some things that are showing up that you need to make decisions on, and you are checking out your calendar into next year. So all of this is basically high-level planning, high-level thinking, and elevating your mindset out of the everyday. And while this Venus in Libra is experiencing that elevation, now we have this Mercury in Leo also getting jazzed up and energized through a conjunction to Jupiter in Leo at 10 degrees. So this is exact on August 15th. And this is where you have something that comes through amplified, perhaps exaggerated and over the top. Jupiter in Leo wants to go big and be extra with all the glitter, extra twirls, and lots of jazz hands. And so there's something here that could be quite dazzling and interesting and exciting. Also, it's under the protection of Jupiter, as Jupiter provides spiritual protection in order to understand something and to see it in a new way. So this could be that next great idea that just might work, and it could even seem larger than life. So a part of this conjunction is that it does bring in exaggerated potentials, and it amplifies what already exists in this Mercury in Leo expression at 10 degrees. And so with this alignment, it will pay off or go somewhere if you see it through and responsibly manage it. There's also the promise of good fortune, that winning lottery card, the announcement of a prize, or some type of really beneficial forward-moving opportunity. This could be in the spotlight, in the limelight. This, again, is something that's visible and seen. It could be highly admired, and it could also just be fun. There could be a sense of wanting to trust your luck and see what happens from there. This also is going to increase risk-taking, including competition or gambling. Might be interesting to see if there are any big developments in the gambling world when Mercury is conjunct this Jupiter in Leo on August 15th. But at a more practical level, you might just have a sense that things are working in your favor. This is optimistic energy, and you could feel lit up in some way, excited about plans, motivated for your new idea, wanting to pour a lot into a creative endeavor. So overall, beautiful, uplifting energy here. It is fast moving though, because of how Mercury moves on rather quickly, but Mercury moves to a trine with Saturn retrograde in Aries at 14 degrees on August 17th. And so this also supports whatever that great big idea is. This is where Saturn comes in and stabilizes it. Saturn is discipline and restriction. Saturn is going to say, okay, this will work within these boundaries, and you have to consider the time it's going to take to make it happen and what you need in order to make it practical and realistically plausible. But that support from a Saturn trine is going to help whatever this thing is for you stay the course and go the distance. And that is something that Saturn always assesses. So in other words, this is a beautiful time for planning, for looking at where you're going next, what you want to create, what you are putting on the calendar that has an ongoing life force to it, where you're just naturally excited and enthusiastic around it. So meetings in the workplace are going to develop and move forward. More of the details are going to have legs to them and lead somewhere. And it may even be surprising how quickly things come together. This will be especially beneficial if you have planets or points between 7 to 14 degrees of the fire signs and the air signs. And that's because this Mercury in Leo, again, sextiles Venus in Libra, is conjunct Jupiter in Leo, and trines Saturn retrograde in Aries, all occurring between 7 to 14 degrees of Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and also beneficial for the air signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Also important to note that these would be messages, communications, and ideas that you'd want to move fast on. It's not the energy to sit and wait or overly think about it. This is the energy of movement and forward action. And Mercury is only in Leo until August 25th. So for this 2 weeks that Mercury is in Leo, there is a lot more happening. And we are meant to move forward with the developments as they unfold. There are a few more aspects all lining up on August 17th. So in addition to this Mercury in Leo trining Saturn retrograde in Aries at 14 degrees, we're also going to see Venus in Libra sextiling Jupiter in Leo at 10 degrees. So Venus brings in even more offers, invitations, and developments here that have already been in the works. Venus is going to show you whom to connect with, whom to speak with, or what is needed for greater balance and harmony. It's almost like asking a question, and then Venus in Libra says, oh, I know who to ask to get that information. Let me connect you to this person or this individual. Venus is a connector when she's in Libra. She is the agent, the negotiator, the diplomat, and the customer service expert as she moves through this sign. And then the other aspect we have exact on August 17th is Mars in Cancer squaring Neptune retrograde in Aries at 3 degrees. This is where Mars in Cancer feels tired and potentially worn out as he has a square to Neptune retrograde in Aries. There could be a realization of where you are exhausted or overwhelmed and where you need a break. And that actually kind of makes sense when you put it into this bigger story of all this fire energy and these big eclipse changes happening. This Mars in Cancer is sensitive and is feeling all the energies in an environment in addition to what he's holding. So you might feel like you need that downtime or that break. It could even feel like you're just moving in slow motion, and that there is more fatigue that you're holding. Neptune always wants us to be aware of our sleep habits, our meditation practices, our nap time, which we don't get enough of, and wants you to rest as needed. So keep in mind that part of this energy that is moving through and swirling around could also be feeling like too much and might be affecting your sleep patterns and sleep habits even more strongly around August 17th. Now, as we move through this week, we are entering more fully into eclipse season, and we will have our second eclipse on August 28th at 5 degrees of Pisces. And that eclipse is going to be working powerfully with the mutable signs, as we will have the full moon at 5 degrees of Pisces, that's the lunar eclipse, opposing the Sun and Mercury conjunct in Virgo at 5 degrees. And all of these are squared by Uranus and Gemini at 5 degrees. And so there are big changes to come here in eclipse season, where there will be even more shocks and surprises revealed around hidden information that comes to light. And it will change public perception. It will change the stories that you thought you knew or the facts that you believed in. This is going to shift what was previously understood and also reveal what has been hidden, denied, or lied about. Because with an eclipse, a lunar eclipse coming up in Pisces, that lunar eclipse puts it all in the light and brings it to public awareness. So more shocks are to come later in the month, but because we're already in eclipse energy, they could start coming through quite rapidly, and they are going to affect these Leo themes that I mentioned previously around changes in leaders, authorities, heads of state, central authorities, people we look up to. There are going to be some fall from grace scenarios. There's going to be changeovers in responsibilities. So when we go higher into a more global viewpoint that also brings in higher galactic awareness, this eclipse season is going to be revealing what has been holding us back from our ongoing human ascension. In other words, there's going to be some big developments that are confusing to understand at first, because they're not simply about what is going on our planet. They're actually reflective of higher level negotiations that are unfolding with our off-planet allies and those energies who are supportive of humanity's growth and ongoing consciousness development. These are high-level negotiations that are ensuring that humanity continues to evolve and is no longer subject to some of the extreme agendas that have been in play throughout this decade. And so there will be individuals who are no longer running the show or who are no longer in power because they are steering humanity in a different direction. And how I'm seeing this is that we are meant to keep pace with higher energy cycles. We are meant to be tracking with a certain level of consciousness development that's actually for our best and highest good. And even though there are interferences and delays that come into play, those disruptions have to fight for control or fight to maintain control, if you will. And so there are higher level negotiations happening right now that are applying pressure for humanity to stay on track. And I'm seeing this as a very extreme zigzag, like switchbacks on a mountain or these very big back and forth energy waves that we've been on. And they're saying that part of this has been the energy of these negotiations where there are higher level, benevolent, loving energies that are basically saying enough is enough. This has gone on too long. This has gone too far. There needs to be some clear and absolute changes that stop this back and forth tug of war that's been happening. And so it's being presented as sometimes things get worse before they get better, but we're nearing the point where it's going to improve outside of typical means, outside of what's normally negotiated. They're showing me that this isn't even something that's resolved through diplomatic discussions, because they're saying that some of these peace treaties are just for show. The peace treaties are meant to make it look like people are getting along on the playground. But what they're saying is that there are going to be some unexpected alternative developments here that bring about significant changes on the planet, and it's going to look very different than what we would expect. And so that's part of what these eclipses are ushering us towards and how we are being ushered forward. For example, a lot of the cloning is getting worse. A lot of the cloning, some of these people, it's like these clones are not even accurately resembling whom they're supposed to resemble. And people are catching on to it. People are noticing it more. And so there's shifts that are happening around public perception and the programming that's been fed to people around what to believe, what to trust, what to give your money towards. And these are themes that relate to both the Leo and Pisces areas of entertainment, glamour, illusion, what you see on your screen, what you believe with your eyes. And so part of what's evolving within us is that we are understanding the power of our own eyesight. And what I mean, I know that sounds weird, we're understanding that simply seeing something is not believing. Simply seeing it with your own eyes is actually where we have been deeply manipulated beyond what we've truly understood. And so as we rise in our ability to read energy, to be more intuitive, to understand when something just feels off, that is a development in human consciousness. And they're saying that's how the game is going to be changing over the course of the next number of months, is that you're no longer going to only be seeing something with your eyes and believing it because it's visible. Now you're going to be able to decipher with greater precise discernment what is real and what is not, because you're reading the energy. And that's part of what is going to be developing during and after these eclipses, because you're going to see some people, and it's really odd, right? It's like, that doesn't look like the singer that I followed in the 1980s, why does she look so different now? Or that isn't the same person from even a decade ago. I mean, even if you were to look more precisely at their facial structure or their earlobes or other things about their appearance, you start to question it. And so that is a big part of the shift of these eclipses, that more people are going to start questioning what they're seeing because we're no longer going to be controlled by our eyesight or what is visible. So this is how we are becoming more energetically mature. We are expanding in our ability to read energy and to trust when something feels off, even when the mind wants to believe it, even when the mind is grasping at ways to say, yes, this must be true. Yes, this must be obvious because I see it with my eyes. But we're also now more aware of how AI is being used to manufacture artificial reality, artificial environments, artificial people, artificial videos. So in order for us to remain empowered, we have to understand the difference. And this is where these off-planet beings who are benevolent and supportive of humankind want us to get some clear messages around what is real and what is not, who is a clone and who is not, who is authentic and who is artificial. And that's going to be part of what we experience into the next few months, because now we're not only looking with our eyesight, we are able to see with our third eye. And that third eye, as well as your other energetic senses, are going to deliver back to your brain messages that you maybe haven't considered or haven't sat with before. This is also how the Uranus in Gemini energies are working with us at this time, where we're learning to think in new ways by asking more questions and thoughtfully pondering the answers from a new level of awareness. And so it is challenging our own thought processes, but it's allowing us to expand our understandings and to be okay when it's uncomfortable, or to sit with something and understand, well, it could be possible. It could be a clone. This could be an artificial person that I'm watching at the podium or that I'm watching on the screen. And so we do have to be smarter now and consider that that is a part of our reality. Well, not just consider it, but know it, but to know it in a way that I'm going to see it for what it is. I'm not going to be fooled. And even if I don't understand how, because that's the next thing that comes up, right? Is, well, how are they doing that? How does that happen? How does that work? Well, you might not know that precisely, but what we can do is just trust. This feels off. This feels weird. This person doesn't look like that other version of the person I saw a few decades ago. And so there's a lot going on here that's going to be a big part of what continues to be revealed on planet Earth. Now, something else I came across over this past week that I have to share with you, and maybe you've heard about this. There's a woman who was working for OpenAI, the company, and she left to start a new research endeavor that trains AI to read the human brain, so that when you are interacting with AI, you're developing telepathy. And so she is conducting research right now that is about building telepathy between humans and AI. They are even now accepting paid research participants, in-person paid sessions in San Francisco. They are seeking people for data collection. I mean, this brings up so many ethical and moral questions. Do we need telepathy between AI and humans? Where is this going? How could this be used in negative, harmful ways? Anyways, there's just a lot associated with this, but I wanted to tell you that this is absolutely a Uranus in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius development, and it's something to be aware of. If you want to look into it or check it out, the website is condu.it. So it's the word conduit, but the .it is at the end. And so these are certainly endeavors that are connected with the current astrology. And I think it's important to be aware of these things that are going on. There's also those AI smart glasses with built-in cameras that are being sold in many more models and options now. You can even get them on Amazon. But those are the glasses you wear on your face, and they capture videos, photos. You can live stream with them. And then there's an AI inside that analyzes your surroundings, or it can answer questions or translate language or figure something out for you. That is also a part of this Uranus in Gemini, which is the energy of changing our daily experiences by integrating these new technologies. And then they bring up many more discussion points and questions along the way. Now, I need to add that I haven't offered any free channeled messages here on YouTube for a while, but I do have a playlist on YouTube with channeled messages that go back all the way, I think, to either 2020 or 2021 that are still relevant and timely to the energies that we're in. These are the messages where I work with galactic guides and cosmic energy fields that have a very different level of consciousness, intelligence, and frequency. I first started connecting with them back in 2009, and it has been something that I've regularly developed and trusted through the years. So, of course, I only offer what I think would be beneficial and supportive to where we're at now. But these are guides that I am in connection with on a regular basis. And so I will be sharing more messages as they come through and as they align with the astrology of our times. And so on that note, thank you all for joining me for this week's podcast episode. Some of you have asked about the new Nodes of Fate program, and yes, it's still on sale for $25 with the coupon code Star Dancer. And this is a program with 13 videos taking you through the journey of the North Node in Aquarius and the South Node in Leo, and what it is bringing up for you in terms of where you will have an increase in development and growth through that North Node, as well as a decrease and letting go through the South Node. This is a program that you apply to your own chart and identify where you have Aquarius and Leo in your chart. And it also is going to reveal more about the cycle you're in that pertains to previous cycles. And I give you some themes on what to look for and work with in your own chart. So I hope this gives you more of a heads up into what is developing for you now into March 2028. And it is a program that you can come back to and reference as often as needed. So do check that out, especially if you have planets or points in Aquarius or Leo. This is a very big cycle for you. It's a very big time for you and those points or planets. But even if you do not have any planets or points in Leo or Aquarius, you're going to get a lot out of the program because it's going to show you what is fated to develop in your life at this time. So I'll put those details below in the show description. And I hope this is a program that supports you in what you are creating and realizing in your life now. So as always, thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back on Monday for a new podcast episode. And I'll also have some videos for you on YouTube this weekend. So if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Please double check that you're subscribed because I know that some subscribers have been leaked off of YouTube or have been unknowingly unsubscribed. So do double check that if you're over on YouTube. And I hope that the videos I share for you there are helpful. Have a beautiful Leo solar eclipse journey, and I'll look forward to connecting with you next week. Take good care.